Hello again, freshmen. It is I, your fearless leader, Miss Puckett, and today we're going to be talking about the most dangerous game. So it's not just a dangerous game, it's the most dangerous game. Okay, by Richard Connell. And if you're watching this video, you should have already read the story. You can read that on your own, or if you want an audio version of that, I have linked it in the description, a couple different audios if you would rather listen to it. Okay, so the story in general, in a very small nutshell, is that we've got this rich guy named Rainsford. He's pretty much hunted everything in the world, and he likes to go on exotic hunting trips, whether it be wild boar, an elephant, if he could go back in time, he would go back in time, just like our dinosaur hunters. And he's on a ship, and he's crossing this creepy place called Ship Trap Island. And he doesn't really know much about it. His shipmate knows more about it, Whitney. But he fumbles off and he falls off the ship and he swims to an island. And it looks like a mostly deserted island. But he comes to a house and he can tell that an even wealthier man lives there. And he kind of lives off on his own, and he has a manservant. He's kind of like a butler slash bodyguard. He's kind of a rather large dude. Someone that you would definitely be scared to come across. And he's a Cossack. That's from a country, like a Russian guy. And, someone to be feared. And the guy who lives here is Zaroff with a Z. And Zaroff is very similar to Rainsford. He's a hunter, longtime hunter. Longtime hunter. And he's hunted pretty much everything that you can hunt and has killed everything. And because of this, he's bored. He's become bored with life. He has nothing else to do. So what most people do not know, including Rainsford, is that he has set up this deserted island to hunt humans. And it's actually quite unfair because he gives them a head start to run away, and he gives them a knife, but he has a gun. So he's very unfair to his victims. But he started hunting these humans because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody. The only people that live there are him and his manservant. And he doesn't care to kill human people, which is pretty weird. This story is a classic in the 9th grade curriculum. And it's one of my favorite stories. And I hate that we couldn't read it together. But this is sort of the best I can do. So again, you should have already read it. This should not be a surprise to you. If you haven't read it, I have linked the audios in the description. I've got a ton of paperwork here. I apologize. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the answers. We're going to do both the act of reading, the questions in the margins, and the activities at the end. So, on page 1 of your story, it says plot. It says, underline the name of the island in line 4, which is Ship Trap Island. We've already said that. What do you predict will happen in the story based on this name? Okay, so based on this name, Ship Trap Island, it's obvious that the ship or the crew members might become trapped in some way. We don't know. The ship might sink. The people might become trapped. We don't know. Now, we know later on, this is a foreshadow for, this is where a lot of ships crash up on the rocks, or people fall off the boats, like in our case of Rainsford. He fell off the boat and he swam to the island. If you've already read the story, then you know that this is a foreshadow of something that happens later that I'll mention when we get there. Okay? On page 2 of the story, it says the setting. Circle the words in lines 7 through 15 that describe the setting. Now, I just underlined, but it says that it is dank, which means that it's moist, like a basement might be dank, kind of moist, maybe moldy. Palpable, thick, warm blackness. It's very humid and hot. It's very tropical. And it says, what mood or feeling is described in this? So right here on page 2, it says, it is hot and very humid night. There's little to no light. There's no electricity out here. We're in the middle of the ocean, folks. Ship Trap Island. All we have is the moon and the stars. And the mood is tense and very scary, kind of uncomfortable. Imagine being in darkness so thick that you cannot see anything but the moon and the stars. That's scary. Also, back to Romeo and Juliet. When Tybalt first gets into a fight with Romeo, it is when it's very hot outside. And Benvolio tells him, like, let's just hang out. Let's go somewhere else. You know, when it's hot outside, moods get bad, tempers get bad because we're hot and we're frustrated. That lends to the mood of this story, okay? The second one on page 2, it says identify, underline the sentences in lines 20 through 27 that tell how Rainsford feels about hunting animals. Circle the sentences that tell what Whitney feels about hunting animals. So if you look right here, okay, remember Whitney is the shipmate here, so he hasn't fallen overboard yet. Rainsford said that hunting is the best sport in the world, and Whitney claps back and says, whoa, for the hunter. And Rainsford says, okay, but who cares what a jaguar feels, or a deer, or a fish? And Whitney says, well, okay, I see what you're saying. They're not like humans. They don't talk like us, but I can tell you one thing. And Rainsford says, what? And Whitney says, I know that animals feel fear. And Rainsford says, nonsense. Animals don't feel fear. Now, you and I, well, I won't say necessarily you and I, but any of us that have had experience with animals, pets, livestock, or maybe you hunt, you know that an animal feels fear. You've seen it. An animal can feel grateful for you when they give you little sandpaper cat kisses, or, you know, when a big old dog slops up your face. We know this. We know that animals do have feelings. Now, Rainsford says they do not. Whitney says they do. So it kind of lets us know that, you know, maybe Whitney, he's not necessarily against hunting. I think he's kind of like me. He doesn't care if other people does it, but he couldn't do it himself. And that's true. I don't even like to kill bugs. You know, if my cat kills them, that's okay because I didn't do it. But no, I don't like to do it. But I don't mind if someone else hunts. Okay. So in this question right here, I put that Rainsford thinks that hunting is the best sport in the world. And he does not think that animals have emotions or care. But Whitney, you know, he likes to hunt, but he does feel bad because he thinks that animals do feel emotions. All right, on page 3, the setting, it says, underline the details in lines 42 through 60 that describe the setting and its effect on Whitney. What mood does it help create? Okay, so coming back to the setting here, I've underlined the word chill because it says there's like a sudden chill. No breeze, the sea was flat, but then was a mental chill. Said that he felt a sudden dread. Felt like an evil place, and it had vibrations of evil. Okay? Whitney said that he felt like the air was toxic. Although there was no breeze, he felt chills. Okay. Although the ocean was flat, he said he felt vibrations of evil. And I put those all right here, okay? So he felt like the air was toxic. He felt vibrations even though the sea was flat. He felt a chill even though there was no breeze, okay? And that helps us create a mood of being scared, or that we should be on our A game here because something's going on, okay? Down here, it says name one image for each of the 5 senses found on this page, okay? So I'm going to go through these a little bit slow. Remember, you can pause the video. That's the good thing about teaching with video. All right, so I put that it had a muffled throb of the engine. That would be our sound sense. He puffed on his favorite briar, okay, which is like a like a cigar, okay, that, or a pipe or something, that's taste, okay. Smoked another pipe, that would be smell, okay, because we can smell that pipe. He reclined in a steamer chair, okay, we can recline in our chair, that's touch. And the sea was flat as plate glass. We can look out and see that. We can see the ocean not having a wave in it at all. All right, on page 4. Based on what we have read so far, how would you describe Rainsford? Okay. So Rainsford, he is traditionally masculine. He likes to hunt. He likes to do the traditional guy things that we think of an old-timey guy doing. He is very aware of his surroundings, meaning that he kind of always knows what's going on, as a good hunter should. A good hunter should see like an exit path and know if there's an animal, hear a sound, something like that. And that's how Rainsford is. Also, Rainsford is able to remain calm in situations. Whitney has a little scared feeling about the Ship Trap Island. Whitney says that he can, see that animals have emotions. Rainsford's like, oh, gosh, you're just being crazy right now. There's nothing going on. This is just an island. There's nothing going on here. Don't be crazy. So he's a little bit different. He can remain calm. And of course, he is very physically strong as well. He's a big masculine dude. All right, still on page 4, the second question down here, it says, what connection do you see between the story's title and what's going on in the story in lines 103 through 109? So the story's title, again, is The Most Dangerous Game. All right, game, G-A-M-E, is another word like for hunting. If you're hunting big game, that means you're hunting animals. Also, when you're hunting for fun, for leisure, it can be like a game. So there's multiple connections there. There's the game of hunting, participating in it. There's big game, which is a word for animal. And then there's the most dangerous game. So we already know, because we've already read the story, that the most dangerous game, big game, is a human. Because they're the smartest, they're the most intelligent. They know how to use tools. They can outsmart other humans because they share the top of the food chain with other humans, there's a lot of animals that can outsmart humans, but not everybody can outsmart us with the way that we use tools. But a human can definitely outsmart another human. On page 5, it says the setting. Pause at line 124. Where is Rainsford now, and what is this new place? Okay, so this is after Rainsford has fallen off the boat. He is literally swimming for his life. He, because it was so dark outside, has no idea where he's at. So the first thing that he comes to are these jagged crags, these rocks kind of coming out of this island. Doesn't have any idea what it is. Of course, Ship Trap Island. Rainsford, he's found himself here, okay, in a deserted island, or at least he thinks it's deserted. The island's surrounded by sharp rocks, and it's covered in a dense jungle. It's very mysterious. Dense meaning it's hard to even get through the plants. On page 6, the first question says lines 137 through 147 create suspense by leaving questions in our mind. What questions would you like answered? Of course, you can put whatever you want, but here's some of the things that I put. What kind of animal was just hunted? Because he found an animal here. Okay, some wounded thing, the evidence of a large animal. That's what he saw, where it looked like something was just hunted. What was just hunted? Who was doing the hunting? We thought this was a deserted island. Okay, why did the hunter choose a .22 gun? Why didn't he hunt with something else? These are some of the questions that we could ask. The second question right here on page 6, it says personification is a kind of figurative language in which a non-human thing or something inanimate, not alive, is talked about as if it were human or alive. Underline the details in 161 and 162 that give the sea a human quality. Okay, so if we look right here, it says the cliffs dived, the sea licked its greedy lips. Okay, So what kind of person is the sea? Which is right here. So right there I put the sea is scary and evil. It wants to devour. If you're licking your lips, okay, I just had an ice cream or something. It wants to devour and kill what it can. Sea is pretty scary. Water is pretty scary. Okay, on page 7, it says the conflict here in 176 through 178, is it internal, or external? Okay, so 176, it says, Rainsford has never, a gigantic creature solidly made, a black beard to the waist. In his hand, the man held a long-barreled revolver, and it was pointing it straight at Rainsford's heart. This is an external conflict, because internal is our feelings. External is something that's happening outside that we can't control. For example, the coronavirus, that's an external conflict for us. So right here, this conflict is external. And it, more specifically, it's man versus man. If you remember that from the beginning of the year, because we've got Rainsford versus this guy holding a gun. We don't necessarily know who he is yet. We already know because we've read the story. But there's a guy holding the gun here. Okay, the second question on page 7, it says, dis is a prefix meaning of take away, deprive of. Disarm means to take away weapons or arms. What does discomfort mean? That means to take away someone's comfort. If we're putting someone in great discomfort, maybe we're taking away their favorite hoodie, or we're making it purposely cold in the room so they're not allowed to be comfortable in a t-shirt. They have to go get a sweater. On page 8, it says, why would a wealthy man want to live in isolation? We're talking about Zaroff here. Okay, General Zaroff. Okay, he wants to live in isolation because he wants to be the boss of himself. He doesn't want anybody to rule him. It's easier to get away with doing whatever you want to do if you're not going to get tattled on. Okay, right here, second question on page 8, it says, circle the word in line 216 that Zaroff uses to describe the Cossacks. Now, read through line 219. What does Zaroff's remarks suggest about he himself will behave in the story? Okay, so the Cossack here is that manservant that we talked about, who's kind of like part butler, part partner in crime, part bodyguard, if you want to. Ivan, and the word he says is savage. Savage. He says that Ivan is a Cossack and he is savage. And then General Zaroff goes on to, he describes Ivan as strong. He's a brute, which means he's kind of stubborn, bully type, you know, and savage. And he implies this because he's a Cossack. But then later on we find out, still in this part here, Zaroff is also a Cossack, which lets us know that he is also going to be a savage. He's also going to be a strong brute, okay? Because he comes off as this kind of rich, prim and proper guy. And I think that he is to a certain extent, but until he starts hunting. Once he starts hunting, all bets are off. He's that savage Cossack. Okay, on page 9, we've got the infer here. It says, when you appraise something, you estimate its value. Why might the general be appraising Rainsford? Okay, so, if I'm appraising something, I'm looking at its value, I'm saying, oh, this would be a good house to buy, or this would be a good car to buy, something like that. General Zaroff here, he's a hunter just like Rainsford. He actually knows him. He likes him. He's read his book and all this stuff. They like each other. They admire each other. And I think that Zaroff is appraising him here for a couple different reasons. Is this guy my competition? Could this guy be my partner in crime? Or, as we know, can I hunt this guy? So all of those are answers for this one. Is, you know, maybe I'm appraising him as my friend. Maybe I'm appraising him as my partner in crime, or maybe I'm appraising him because I want to hunt him. Okay. All right. On page 10, okay, still in Zaroff's house. We have not left Zaroff's house yet. Of course, him and Ivan took him in as an island. So on page 10, first question, based on what we know about Zaroff, how are he and Rainsford similar? Okay, well, they both like to hunt. Both got a fair amount of money. They like the finer things in life, the fine wine and all that, things like that. They're both strong. They're both intelligent. And they both like the adrenaline rush of hunting. Will I win or will I not win? Okay, they both like those things. We know they have a lot in common, actually. All right, the second question on page 10, it says, pause at line 273. What do you predict could be the most dangerous game? Now, we already know it's humans, but for our sake, it could be like a dinosaur, like the last story that we read, Sound of Thunder. It could be an old school woolly mammoth. It could be a human. It could be a lion. That's up to you. Okay. Page 11. This question up here. It says, what image from this page is the most vivid to you, and what sense does it appeal to? Again, you can pick whatever image you want, but I'm going to show you the one that I picked. But again, you can pick whatever one you want. All right, so I picked this one right here, and it starts above line 290. It's his own paragraph here. It says, the general took from his pocket a gold cigarette case and offered his guest a long black cigarette with a silver tip. It was perfumed, and it gave off a smell like incense. Okay, so I put that this image, I can feel, okay, the silk of the pants, smooth, okay. I can see the shine of the gold and silver, and of course I can smell the perfumed incense of the cigarette. So it appeals to a lot of different senses. Right, the second question down here, still on page 11, the plot says, notice the sequence of events as Zaroff tells about his past. Underline the words in 301 to 302 that tell when he received his first gun. Underline the words in lines 305 and 306 that say when he shot his first bear, and then underline the words in 313 that tell when he first left Russia. So our first one here is that he was only 5 years old when he got his first gun. That's around line 301. He was 10 when he shot his first animal there. And then he left Russia to demand the vision of the Cossack cavalry. Okay? So, and I just put a note right here that he has been hunting since he was a child, clearly. Only 5 years old when he got his first gun. He loves it. He killed his first bear. Bear, a huge game, big game, when he was 10 years old. 10. I think I was still playing with Barbies when I was 10. Okay, and then he joined the army, which of course tells us that he's no stranger to killing humans in the army. He's maybe not necessarily scared to do that. Okay, on page 12, the first question right here, it says the prefix im or m means not. Imprudent means not prudent. What does immature mean? It means that you're not mature, okay? You're not mature. You act like a kid and you never grow up. The second question on page 12 here, it talks about an idiom. An idiom is an expression that means something different from the literal definition of its part. Circle the idiom in line 328. What does it mean? Okay. So the idiom here is go to pieces. Go to pieces. When you think of something going to pieces, you mean to like shatter a vase and it goes to pieces. But that's not what it literally means here, because it's an idiom. Basically means that someone is being driven crazy. They feel like their mind is going to pieces because they're being driven crazy by depression or boredom. I can tell you with this coronavirus, my mind is in pieces right now. because I just can't stand being in my house all day. On page 13, it says, why do people love killing things? Okay. Why do people love killing things? Now, this is up to you, but I have an answer here, and I put it, and I'm just going to read my answer that I put. Okay. Humans, for whatever reason, love power. And they do. They love power. Okay. We often have anxiety. Being able to take a life is the ultimate form of power. Some people call it playing God. Taking someone's life on person is the ultimate form of power. The adrenaline rush associated with this power tells us that it is killed or be killed. A dog-eat-dog world. This is human instinct and how early humans were forced to survive. Because humans no longer are forced to hunt for survival. Now, they kill for fun. And I know some of you out there are saying, well, hey, Miss Puckett, when I hunt a deer, I also eat it. And that's fine. But ultimately, you can go buy a hamburger at Walmart. A lot of people fish for fun. Sometimes they throw the fish back, sometimes they don't. For whatever reason, humans still have an urge to kill. I don't know why. And of course, it's not every human, but a lot of humans do. Okay, on page 14, it says, based on line 382, confirm your prediction. What is the game that Zaroff hunts? Well, you know, folks. Zaroff, he hunts everything, but he likes to hunt humans, and he has them what he calls imported to the island. Okay, second question on page 14. Based on his comment in lines 86 through 87, what kind of influence did the war have on General Zaroff? Okay, so for General Zaroff, right here, okay, the war twisted his mind. Before, he used to see animals and humans in two different categories. After the war, no, when he joined that Cossack army, no. He does not respect humans anymore. He does not respect that human life. He doesn't hold it any different than an animal. He thinks that it can be killed, a human can be killed just like an animal. He sees no difference at all. So what if the human can talk? The cow can moo. Let's kill them both. That's Zaroff's point of view after the war. That's what the war did to him. Okay, on page 15, it says, earlier I asked you how Rainsford and Zaroff were alike. We already talked about that, but now, how are they different? Okay, Zaroff hunts animals because he doesn't believe that animals have emotions. We know that. You know, he doesn't feel that animals will be mentally ever psychologically messed up. But he would never want to hunt a human because humans do have emotion and intellectual thought. However, Zaroff, he doesn't make a distinction between animals and humans. He doesn't think that humans have intellectual thought either. He doesn't care about their lives, things like that. Okay, he has no empathy for humans. So that's a major reason of how they're different. On page 16, it says, how does Zaroff find men to hunt? Okay, so what he has done here, he's done a very naughty thing, Zaroff has. And this is part of why it's called Ship Trap Island. What he does is that he has set up in the ocean, this is the answer to the question right here, and you can put it in your own words. In the ocean, General Zaroff has set up this light. And when the sailors see it, they think that that means, oh, it's the A-OK. I can keep sailing. Everything's good when they see this light. But what it actually does is it draws them into Ship Trap Island because they think that the light is good. It's a green light. But actually it's really bad because it draws them into the island. They wreck on the sharp, the crags that we talked about. They wreck on the crags. They crash, and then the humans come onto the island, which is deserted somewhat. And then the only house on the island is General Zaroff with his manservant Ivan. So they come up there, And then he says, oh, cool, I'm glad you came. By the way, I'm going to hunt you now, bruh. Okay. So that's how he finds the humans. Second question on page 16. It says the word game in line 450 means competition or amusement, like we talked about earlier. What associations come to mind when you hear the word game? What impression do you form of Zaroff when he uses the word to describe hunting men? Okay, so when I think of hearing game, this is up to you. The first part of that question, I think of like a game of cards, like euchre or poker or something like that. Or even like tag you're it, hee, recess. But Zaroff, when he hears the word game, I think that means like, oh, time to play the game, time for me to hunt humans, okay? I am going to, this video is already 30 minutes, so I'm going to leave off on page 16. I'm going to do another video for pages 17 through 29, okay? So catch me in the next video. Catch me outside. How about that?